The stars were silent. The great warship of the Shari Empire floated in orbit above a blue-green planet, cold and dark like a beast waiting to strike. Inside the golden throne room, the walls shimmered with glowing symbols. Soldiers stood tall, heads down. No one dared to breathe. Then, a scream broke the silence. It was not a normal scream. It was the roar of a queen. It was the sound of a mother who had lost something beyond measure. Queen Thalzira stood in the center, her long golden dress torn, her eyes wild with fire. Her twin sons, heirs to the galaxy's largest empire, had vanished. Not during war, not during battle, but inside the most secure royal palace in the universe. Where are my sons? She shouted, her voice shaking the walls. No one answered. They were sleeping beside me, she whispered now, shaking. I kissed their foreheads. I closed my eyes for 1 second. 1 second! A general stepped forward, armor clinking. My queen, every ship is searching. We locked the gates. We locked the skies. No one. Then how did they disappear? She cut him off. Your soldiers guard the doors. Your scanners see through walls. You control entire star systems, and still my boys are gone. She raised her hand, and the general was lifted in the air, choking. Her psychic energy burned like lightning. Others stepped back in fear. I want every system shut down, she growled. No ship leaves. No traveler moves. I don't care if it's a farmer or a priest, no one flies. Far below, the forests of planet Gaia were calm. Wind moved through tall green trees. Birds chirped softly. And in a small wooden cabin, smoke rose from a chimney. Ben wiped his hands on his shirt as he stepped outside. He was a human, tall, quiet, rough beard, simple clothes. He lived alone. No family, no friends. Just peace and the sound of trees. He picked up his axe and split another log. It had rained last night and the wood was heavy, but he didn't mind. He liked the work. It kept his mind quiet. Then he heard it, a soft sound, not from the forest, not from an animal. A giggle. Ben frowned. He turned his head. Was it a child? He followed the sound, walking slowly around his cabin. And there, beside the wall hidden under his old wool blanket, were 2 small children, silver skin, glowing blue eyes, short white hair. Their clothes were soft and royal, now dirty with mud. They were asleep, one with a thumb in his mouth, the other curled up like a cat. Ben stared, frozen. He had seen aliens before. He wasn't shocked by that, but these weren't normal alien kids. Something about them, something powerful. The boy on the left opened his eyes and looked at Ben. For a second, the forest went quiet, like even the birds were listening. Then the boy said softly, "Warm." The other boy stirred and Ben placed another log on the fire. Warm flames danced in the cabin, lighting up the small faces of the 2 alien boys curled up in his old blanket. They had eaten soup, then fallen asleep again, one resting his head on Ben's arm like a tired puppy. He still didn't know who they were. He didn't ask. Not yet. Ben had lived in these woods for years. He had seen storms, hunters, even a few drunk pirates stumble through. But this was new. The boys were quiet, polite, like lost royalty. But why were they here? Alone, dirty? Afraid outside, night had fallen. A cold mist moved through the trees like silent smoke. And far above, ships circled the planet, unseen by normal eyes. The Queen's fleet was here. In orbit. Watching. Waiting. Inside one of the black scout ships hovering above the forest, a Shari officer leaned over his screen. There, he said. Heat signature. 3 life forms. 2 match the prince's. 3rd is human. The commander snorted. A human? What's he doing with them? Unknown, the officer replied. They appear calm. Bring weapons, just in case. The black scout ship turned and descended silently, trees shaking slightly as it passed. Ben felt it, a pressure in the air. The animals had gone quiet. No frogs, no owls, no wind. He stood up. The boys stirred. The older one whispered, "They're coming." Ben looked down. Who? Bad voices. Ben didn't waste time. He opened the cabinet, pulled out an old black rod, smooth metal heavy. It hummed faintly as he touched it. The younger boy's eyes widened. You have one of the old sticks? Ben looked at him. You know what this is? The boy nodded slowly. My grandteacher told us. Humans once carried those. Only the strongest. Ben didn't speak. He just turned as the door creaked open, not from wind, from movement. 3 tall Shari soldiers stepped inside. They were armored head to toe in sharp silver suits. Their helmets glowed with red lights. Weapons were already in hand. "Step away from the children," one of them said in a cold voice. Ben didn't move. He stood between the boys and the soldiers. "They're fine," Ben said quietly. The soldier aimed. "Last warning." The older boy grabbed Ben's leg, terrified. "Please," Ben sighed. Then raised the staff. A soft blue light shot up from the rod, forming a thin, transparent shield around the boys. The soldiers paused. The leader tilted his head. "Where did you get that?" "Garage sale," Ben said. The soldier didn't laugh. "That's a war staff. Only used by ancient human warriors during the last Empire War." Ben said nothing. The soldiers stepped forward, but before they could reach him, the cabin shook. A psychic pulse hit the room like a wave. The 2 boys were glowing now, silver light pouring from their tiny hands. The air bent. The walls creaked. The soldiers were thrown back against the wall like paper dolls. Ben knelt down and held the boys close. "It's okay," he whispered. "You're safe here." The light dimmed. The cabin settled. The boys looked up at him with glowing blue eyes. "I dreamed of you," the younger one whispered, "before we fell. I saw you in my dream. You were chopping wood." Ben raised an eyebrow. "Really?" The boy nodded. "You were smiling." Outside, the scout ship sent a signal. Mission failed. Targets found. Status protected. By human. Inside the Queen's warship, the message arrived. Queen Thalzera read the words. She froze. A human? A human protecting her children? She stood very still. Her hand gripped the edge of the table. "Did he harm them?" she asked. "No, my queen, he shielded them." Another vision flashed in her mind. Her son's laughing, warm light. The smell of firewood. A man's calm voice. It wasn't fear, it was peace. She turned to her generals. "Prepare my ship," she said. "My queen, I will meet this." Human myself pinned his eyes too. They both looked at Ben like they had found a safe place. Ben didn't move. "You two okay?" he asked slowly. The boys nodded. They didn't speak again, just leaned into each other and closed their eyes once more. Ben sighed and sat down beside them. He didn't ask where they came from, not yet. He just wrapped the blanket tighter around them. Above, on the Queen's warship, alarms beeped. A tiny signal had been picked up. 2 life forms, matching royal DNA, detected in the outer woods of Gaia. A young officer looked at the screen. This can't be right. He tapped it again. The reading was clear. Royal children were alive, near a human cabin. The officer ran to the throne room. "My queen!" he shouted. "We found them." Queen Thalzera turned slowly, her eyes glowing. "Where?" He pointed at the map. "Here, near the forest. Near a human." She narrowed her eyes. "A human?" she whispered. Her voice was calm now. Too calm. She stepped closer to the map, staring at the small dot marked Cabin 7. "Send the scouts," she said. "Should we retrieve them?" "No," she said, her lips curling. "I want to see what kind of human dares to sleep beside my sons." The cabin door still swayed on its hinges. Ben stood there in silence, staff in hand, watching the Shari soldiers pick themselves up from the floor. His grip on the black rod didn't loosen. It buzzed with ancient energy, energy that once helped humans win wars they were never meant to survive. "You've made a mistake," the lead soldier growled, brushing dust off his armor. "You don't know who those boys are." Ben didn't blink. "I know they're scared. I know they didn't want you near them." "They are princes," the soldier snapped. "Sons of Queen Thalzera. Touching them without permission is punishable by death." Ben's voice was calm. "They came to me cold, hungry, lost. I fed them. Gave them a place to sleep. If that's a crime, you're welcome to try." The soldier raised his arm again, weapon glowing. His finger moved toward the trigger. The younger prince, still wrapped in Ben's thick flannel, let out a whimper, and then something changed. The air bent. The flames in the fireplace shifted sideways. Ben raised the staff slightly, just enough to draw attention. A deep hum filled the cabin. "Low and growing," I said. Ben spoke softly. "Don't touch them." The soldier froze. He felt the energy. Ancient, dangerous, human-made. And yet, it responded to Ben like it had been waiting years to be held again. The soldier lowered his weapon, but his voice was still sharp. If the Queen comes here and sees this, she will kill you. Ben looked down at the boys. They weren't glowing anymore, just quiet, watching, trusting him. He looked back up. Then she's welcome to try. The soldiers exchanged glances. Something about this man wasn't right, not wrong, but not normal. They backed out of the cabin, but before leaving, the leader said one last thing. The Queen is already on her way. You'd better pray the children ask for mercy on your behalf. Then the door shut, and silence returned. Ben sat on the floor near the fireplace. He laid the staff down and looked at the boys. Want more soup? He asked. The younger one giggled. You're funny. The older one sat up straighter. You shouldn't fight them. They are dangerous. Ben nodded. I know. Then why protect us? Ben looked at them, really looked. Because someone has to. He stood and went to the kitchen, pouring more soup into old bowls. As he moved, the boys watched him like he was magic. To them, maybe he was. Far above the cabin, in the cold clouds of the upper atmosphere, the Queen's personal ship cut through the sky like a black arrow. It was shaped like a dagger, silent and terrifying. Hundreds of escort ships followed her, but none flew too close. Inside the throne chamber of the ship, Queen Thalzera sat alone. Her sons were alive, but with a human. A primitive. A man who lived in a wooden cabin and used firewood. She could not understand it. Her sons had every luxury. Robots, guards, crystal beds, glowing pools. And yet they ran, chose a stranger, trusted him. Why? Her hands clenched into fists. Still, she couldn't deny the feeling. They were safe. The psychic bond between her and her twins had gone silent days ago, lost in the void. But now she felt warmth, peace, safety. It didn't make sense. She opened her eyes. Prepare landing, she commanded. The ship descended, slow and heavy, shaking the trees below. Ben stepped out of the cabin, shielding his eyes from the dust storm forming around the landing site. The boys followed him, holding his hands. From the massive ship, a golden ramp descended, and she appeared. Tall, glowing, her silver crown crackled with energy. Her gown shimmered like stars. Her eyes burned with fire. The forest seemed to stop breathing. Ben didn't bow. The boys didn't hide. The Queen stepped forward slowly. She didn't look at Ben first. She looked at her sons. They looked happy. They looked warm. They didn't run to her. They held tighter to Ben. She stopped, her voice shaking. Come to me, she whispered. The older boy frowned. Are you angry? Her lip trembled. I was. Not now. The younger one tilted his head. Will you hurt him? She hesitated. Should I? The older boy stepped in front of Ben. Don't touch him. The Queen's mouth opened slightly. Her knees weakened. This human had done what her empire could not. He gave her sons peace. The Queen stood in the cold forest clearing, surrounded by her royal guards. Their silver armor gleamed under the faint morning sun, but the air between them felt frozen. The human stood there too, calm, steady, holding the hands of her sons like he had nothing to fear. No one spoke. The wind moved softly between the trees. Finally, the Queen took one step forward. Her eyes glowed faint blue. Power rippled around her like invisible fire. You, she said softly, are a human. Ben nodded once. That's right. You touched royal blood. You sheltered them. Her voice was low, dangerous. That is a death crime in my empire. Ben didn't reply. He just looked at the boys beside him, both standing tall, no longer afraid. They weren't safe, he said after a pause. Someone had to protect them. The Queen's lips twitched, but she said nothing. Her soldiers shifted, unsure if they should raise weapons or bow lower. Even they could feel something strange. Something powerful yet quiet between the human and the princes. The older prince tugged her gown gently. Mother! She looked down, startled by the sound of his voice. You're shaking, he whispered. Her throat tightened. She hadn't realized her hands were trembling. She took a breath and looked back at Ben. What did you do to them? She demanded. They are different. Ben raised an eyebrow. Different how? They laugh, the Queen's voice cracked. They sleep. They eat human food. They dream without pain. No healer could make them do that. Ben didn't move. He simply said, Maybe they just needed to be treated like kids. Her head lowered, and for a moment the mighty queen looked small. Then her mind opened. A sharp light flashed across her vision, uncontrolled. Raw psychic energy. She saw flashes of memory, not hers. Her sons, they were cold, lost in the dark, falling through clouds, crying for her. Then warmth. The sound of a fire crackling. A man's gentle voice. A rough hand wrapping them in a blanket. A smell of soup. She gasped, eyes wide. Her vision shifted again. Her sons laughing, throwing tiny sticks into the fire while the human chopped wood and told stories about Earth, a world she thought extinct. She saw him hum a melody, simple and old, and her sons smiling like they hadn't in years. She dropped to her knees. Guards panicked. "Your Majesty!" She raised a hand to silence them. Tears shimmered in her eyes. "It's true," she whispered. They were safe. They were happy. Ben looked confused but didn't interrupt. She looked at him through blurred vision. "You healed what all my empire could not." He shook his head. "I didn't heal anything. I just gave them what they needed." "What's that?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "A home." For the first time in her long reign, the queen didn't know what to say. Her crown felt heavy, her voice weak. This man, this quiet, ordinary human, had done more for her children than her armies, her palaces, her doctors. The forest was silent again. Only the soft rustle of leaves filled the space between them. The older prince broke the quiet. "Can he stay with us?" The younger one added quickly, "He tells funny stories." The queen's heart twisted. "My sons and you belong in the palace, with me." The younger boy frowned. "The palace is cold. His house is warm." The older nodded. "He doesn't shout. He listens." The queen's lips trembled. For a long moment she said nothing. Then her eyes met Ben's again. There was something there, something old. Recognition? Or destiny? She looked up at the sky, feeling the stars whisper. In her mind, the voice of her elder advisor echoed. A true ruler must know when to bow before kindness. Her gaze softened. "You saved them," she said finally. "And you did it without expecting anything." Ben shrugged. "They needed help. That's all." The queen took a deep breath. "You don't understand what this means, human. You have touched royal blood, and yet I cannot punish you. My heart will not let me." Her voice lowered. "But know this, your world, your species, your kind were thought extinct. If you are truly human, then you are a secret the galaxy will not forgive me for protecting." Ben stared quietly at her. "Then let them hate you. Just don't take them away." The queen blinked in surprise. Something strange flickered in her chest, a feeling she hadn't known in centuries. "Respect." "Very well," she said softly. "I will not take them. Not yet." As she turned back toward her ship, she glanced at the boys, smiling, warm, alive. She closed her eyes and once again saw the vision of them asleep on the human's chest, safe under the stars. A single tear fell down her cheek. The queen, the most feared ruler in the galaxy, whispered under her breath, "Perhaps humanity was never weak, only kind." The queen's ship rose back into the clouds. Its engines lit the sky with blue fire as it disappeared into the mist above the trees. The forest slowly returned to silence. The animals began to chirp again. The wind moved through the leaves. Ben stood near his cabin watching the sky, still holding the black war staff in one hand. The boys were beside him, smiling, playing with sticks, drawing shapes in the dirt like nothing had happened. He sighed. "She didn't try to take them," he said quietly. The older boy looked up. She was crying inside. Ben blinked. "You saw that?" The boy nodded. "We feel her. Always. Even when far." The younger one said, "She felt your heart too." Ben sat down on the old bench near his porch. "I'm just a man with a quiet life," he muttered. "I didn't ask for all this." The boys looked at each other, then sat beside him, one on each side, leaning their heads against his shoulders. "I like your quiet life," the younger one whispered. Ben gave a tired smile, but peace never lasted long. Far above, inside the royal warship, the queen was met by her top generals. They were not pleased. "You let the human go?" One shouted. "You left the heirs in the forest?" Another barked. The queen raised her hand for silence. "They are safe. I saw it with my own eyes. General Varesh stepped forward, tall and cruel, armor scratched from 100 battles. His voice was cold. That human is a threat. He holds the boys. Controls them. He protects them, the Queen said. Or hides behind them, Varesh snapped. What if he turns? What if he's not the only one? We don't know how many humans survived. The Queen's jaw tightened. He asked for nothing. He showed respect. Varesh's eyes glowed red. He humiliated your soldiers. Held ancient tech. Do you think the other empires won't notice? Silence. Then the general slammed his fist on the table. If you won't act, I will. She rose from her seat. Varesh! But he was already gone. Moments later, unauthorized ships left the warfleet and dove toward the planet. Ben looked up as the sky cracked open. Not just one ship. Dozens. Black dropships fell like knives through clouds. The ground shook as engines roared. Trees bent. Animals fled. Even the air changed, thicker, heavier. Wrong. The boys froze. Ben stepped in front of them, staff in hand. Go inside, he said quickly, but now. They ran to the cabin. The first ship landed with a thud that cracked the earth. Soldiers poured out in lines. Armored, weapons glowing, eyes locked. Ben didn't wait. He walked toward them. Alone. A soldier shouted, By order of General Varesh, the princes are to be retrieved immediately. Ben didn't raise his weapon. By whose permission? The soldier smirked. You're surrounded, human. Step aside or be removed. Ben looked back at the cabin. He could feel the boys watching from the window. He turned to the soldiers again. If they cry again, I won't hold back this time. The lead soldier laughed, then fired, but the shot never reached him. The war staff lit up, forming a spinning blue shield in front of Ben. The blast bounced off and hit a tree, splitting it in half. The soldiers froze. Ben's eyes narrowed. You started this, he said softly. Now I end it. He slammed the staff into the ground. A shockwave blasted outward, blue and white roaring through the air. Soldiers flew backwards like leaves. Some dropped their weapons. Some just ran. One remained. Varesh. He stepped out from his personal ship, his armor thicker than the rest, his blade glowing red. So, this is the human, he sneered. Ben didn't speak. Varesh walked forward slowly, raising his weapon. I was born to kill monsters, the general said. Ben nodded. Me too. Their weapons clashed with a blinding crack. In the cabin, the boys trembled. He's fighting for us. The younger one held out his hand. We have to help. The older closed his eyes. Not with power, with love. Outside, the battle shook the forest. Sparks flew. Trees burned, but Ben stood tall until a voice echoed from the sky. Stop! The Queen's ship returned. She landed in the clearing, her eyes glowing with fury. She faced Varesh. You disobeyed me. I protected your blood, he shouted. She raised her hand, and with one wave, Varesh was slammed to the ground, unmoving. She turned to Ben, her voice softer. You defended them even against me. Ben was breathing hard, staff glowing in his hand. I don't want war, he said. Just peace. The Queen lowered her head. So do I. The sky stopped burning, and peace returned, for now. The forest was quiet again. Smoke still floated in the air where the dropships had landed. Burnt leaves crackled under boots as soldiers retreated silently, their heads down. General Varesh was gone, removed by royal order. The Queen herself stood under the trees, her long robe touching the blackened grass, and yet the only sound was that of two small boys. Laughing. Inside the cabin, they sat beside Ben, curled up in old blankets holding warm mugs of soup. You really hit him. The younger one giggled. He flew like a bird. Ben smiled tiredly. Didn't mean to throw him that far. The older one looked up. You didn't run, even when he tried to kill you. Ben shrugged. Didn't feel like running. The Queen stood near the doorway, watching quietly. She didn't speak. Her hands were folded in front of her, her face calm but distant. Then she said, Do you know how they came to your forest? Ben looked up. I figured they got lost. The Queen slowly stepped inside. They didn't just get lost. They escaped. Ben frowned. The boys went quiet. The older one's shoulders lowered. They weren't taken? Ben asked softly. The Queen shook her head. No, they ran away. Ben blinked. From you? She nodded slowly. From me, from the palace. From the pressure, the rules, the silence. I thought I was protecting them, but I was building a cage. She walked over and knelt near the boys. Why didn't you tell me? The younger one looked away. You never listened. The older one added, you only saw the crown, not us. Her heart cracked a little more. Ben watched in silence. The fire popped gently in the background. The queen closed her eyes, then asked, how did you survive the fall? The older twin leaned against Ben's shoulder. We took a shuttle, quietly. We flew for hours. Then we got lost. There was a storm. The ship fell. The younger one whispered, we were cold. We thought we would die. But I remembered a dream. Ben looked at him. A dream? Yes, the boy said, smiling softly. A man in a cabin. He was chopping wood. He had soup. He had a soft blanket. He said we'd be okay. The queen's breath caught. You saw that before you met him? The boy nodded. I followed the dream. It brought us here. The room fell silent again. The queen looked at Ben. They dreamed of you before they found you. Ben blinked. That doesn't make sense. The queen stood. In my empire, we call that a soul echo. It's rare, sacred, a bond between spirits who are meant to cross paths. Some call it fate. Ben looked down at the boys beside him. I just thought I was helping two lost kids. You did, she said. But perhaps the universe helped you find each other. The older boy sat up. I wasn't scared when we landed. I just knew we were near the cabin. The younger one smiled. We found it by smell, like soup and smoke and old wood. Ben chuckled softly. You really came for soup? The boy grinned. Your soup is amazing. Outside, the last of the dropships lifted off. The planet was calm again. But inside that small wooden cabin, something had changed. The queen stepped to the window, looking out at the trees. I raised them with rules, guards, protocols, but you gave them bedtime stories. Ben raised an eyebrow. And soup, she smiled faintly. The older twin stood and walked to her side. He held her hand. You're not a bad mother, he said, just a busy one. The younger added, we still love you. Her eyes filled with tears. She knelt and pulled them both into her arms. For the first time in years, she hugged them without armor, without fear. Ben stood and looked away, giving them a moment. Then the queen spoke again, her voice low. You've done more for them than I ever could. You brought back their laughter. Ben shrugged. They just needed space to be themselves. She looked at him. Will you come with us? He paused. I'm not meant for palaces, he said. I'm a man of the woods, she nodded. Then I will make room in the empire. For the woods, Ben raised a brow. What does that mean? It means, she said, smiling now. You're not done with them yet. The boys ran to him again, wrapping their arms around his waist. And in that moment, Ben, who once lived alone, far from stars and crowns, realized something. He wasn't alone anymore. 3 days passed. The forest slowly healed from fire and battle. Birds returned. Flowers opened again beneath the trees. The smell of smoke faded, replaced by fresh rain and pine needles. Inside the cabin, Ben fixed the roof. The twin boys helped. Well, mostly played, but tried their best. The older one passed nails. The younger handed him tools, sometimes the wrong ones. Ben just smiled. He didn't care. Peace had returned, but not silence. Far above, ships circled the planet, big ones, royal ones. Today, something rare was happening. For the first time in Shari history, a full royal delegation would step foot in a human's backyard. Ben didn't want it. He didn't like crowds, or gold banners or speeches, but the queen had insisted, just once, she said. Let the galaxy see the man who changed my sons. And now here they were. Ben stood outside, wiping his hands on a rag, dressed in the same old clothes. Plain shirt, worn boots, sleeves rolled up. He had no crown, no armor, just a tired smile and a quiet strength in his eyes. Dozens of ships landed in rows like silver statues. Thousands of warriors bowed. Leaders from other alien empires watched from afar. A marble path was laid from the landing field to Ben's front door, but he didn't step on it. He stood beside his wooden steps, arms crossed, waiting. The queen stepped down from her ship. She wore royal robes, but no crown. Her hair was tied back. She looked less like a ruler, more like a mother. and behind her the twin boys walked side by side, holding flowers they had picked from the forest. Everyone watched. Everyone whispered. "That's him," one alien murmured. "The human who made the princes laugh. He held the war staff. They say he turned the queen away with a single word." The queen reached Ben. She bowed her head. Not low, but enough. "I told you the Empire would not forgive me for protecting you," she said softly. "I was wrong." Ben raised an eyebrow. "They came to kill me." "Some forgiveness," she nodded, "but they left in silence." He didn't answer. The twins stepped forward. One held out a crown of woven grass. The other offered a stone they had carved with their tiny hands. It was shaped like a flame. "This is for you," they said together. "From the forest." Ben took them both, eyes soft. "Thanks, boys." The queen turned to the gathered crowd. Her voice rose, not loud, but clear. "Let it be known across the stars," she said, "that this man, this human, did what my armies, my ships, my laws could not." She looked back at Ben. "He brought peace to royal blood." Murmurs filled the air. Some knelt. Some saluted. One warrior stepped forward and offered Ben a medal. Ben didn't take it, he shook his head. "I don't need medals," the queen smiled. "He prefers soup over silver." Ben chuckled, then looked at the crowd. "If you came here to see a hero," he said, "you came to the wrong place." They listened. "I'm just a man. I live in the woods. I chop trees, I cook, I tell bedtime stories. That's it." He paused. "But if you want to know why I helped those kids," he looked at the boys. "It's because they were cold. And no one should be cold. Not even a prince." Silence. Then a single alien warrior stepped forward and knelt. Then another. Then another. Dozens. Hundreds. Across the field, beings from 10 worlds lowered their heads. Not because he was strong, not because he won a battle, but because he reminded them what kindness looked like. The queen stepped beside him. "The Empire will protect you now." Ben looked back at his cabin. "I didn't ask for that," he said. "You earned it anyway." The boys tugged at his shirt. "Can we go play now?" Ben smiled. "Sure, just stay close." As they ran into the trees, chasing each other with giggles, the royal guards relaxed. Weapons lowered. Helmets came off. The day turned soft. The queen stayed back with Ben. "Will you ever return with us?" she asked. "Maybe," he said. "When the forest gets too quiet," she nodded. "There will always be a place for you." He nodded back, and then she left. The ships lifted again, one by one like fireflies returning to the stars. Ben stood alone once more. Almost. The boys ran back, tackled him from behind. Laughing, he fell on the grass, groaning, smiling, arms around both of them. He didn't need palaces, he didn't need crowns. He had warmth, he had laughter, he had family. And far beyond the sky, the galaxy whispered the tale of one quiet man in the woods, the human the Empire knelt to.